Okay, we're
well,
fine.
I did a
But to
whole
answer your
monologue
question,
and it wasn't recorded. It looked so dumb.
but to answer
Mason,
your
you want to talk to
question,
this guy?
like mildly inebriated, but otherwise fine.
All right. So I heard there's a challenger that would like to come forwards and challenge them and
Wait,
all. Is
sorry.
that true?
Wait, sorry. What David? What were you saying?
I said, do you want to talk to this guy about his claim?
What did he say?
He said you need objective morality to be moral.
100%. It's necessary
Um,
upon you to be moral. Unless you don't want to be moral, then you have to
what
concede
what
that.
does it? Wait. What do you mean by objective morality?
Basically, the collective of all subjective like basically an objective morality is an objective entity that guides your morality.
Like, what does it mean for something to be objectively good or bad? I guess.
No, I never produced the good or bad. I just produced that it's an objective being. Do you agree there has to be an objective entity that exists? If there's we're all subjective entities. Do you agree upon that? Let's start there.
There's already a lot of confusion here.
Okay, let's start here. Humans are subjective entities, yes or no?
No, that's not. Well, we can get there for a second, but let's just figure out what it means when you say so. Okay, we have a chat here.
Look, if you want me,
Let's use a side chat. Let's use a side chat.
I'll define it, but you have to.
Okay.
Let's start here. This is the first premise of my argument. Okay.
So
Humans
you
are
can't
subjective
be moral.
entities.
You can't be so the claim is you can't be moral without objective morality.
Here, I'll write down the claim in the general. Okay. It's two premises and a conclusion. Humans are subjective entities.
No, wait a second. No, wait a second. We're not looking for an argument yet because I don't even understand what you're saying. You're saying you can't be.
Well, you need to let me put the argument forwards. That's why you don't understand what I'm saying.
No,
Okay, so like you understand. Wait, monkey boy, just wait a second. Like, you understand, like, before you argue for anything, if I don't understand what you're saying, there's like no point even giving the argument. You follow why that might be true?
What? I wrote down the whole argument. Humans are subjective entities.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Hold on.
Cartesian,
I don't know what you're arguing for.
You have to at least. Okay, I'm the one that came here. I'm challenging you. Okay.
Manar, you have to clarify your definition
because you're not challenging me. Ask me what definition you want me to clarify. Challenge me. You're not challenging me.
Look, if there's a statement, you're making a claim, and we don't happen to share an understanding of it, so. It might not be clear that we even disagree. It might turn out that when you explain what you're saying, I might just agree with you.
Okay, well, ask me.
And then, like, the argument kind of becomes redundant.
Okay, ask me. What do you don't understand? Go ahead.
Yeah, so you said you can't be moral without objective morality. So what is objective morality?
That's not what I said. I said my argument is right here. It's two premises in a conclusion.
No, but hold up. But what we're interested in is the claim that you can't be moral without objective morality.
So I'll explain to you what objective morality is.
Do you still agree with that?
It would be basically my introduction to the solution of this dilemma, this logical dilemma.
Wait, but do you still agree that you can't be moral without objective morality?
Well, yeah, you have to because you haven't produced anything else.
So what is objective?
Cartesian, you have to let me talk, please. So I've introduced
but what's objective morality?
theory. I've introduced an effective theory that can deal with humanity's immorality. You haven't. You're gonna.
What is objective? What is objective
let me finish
morality?
10 more seconds. 10 more. I'll tell you what morality is. But let me finish. So my theory, you can argue against it, but I want to see you present a theory, which you're not. You're going to forcefully look, guys. I'm gonna predict something. Before this debate even starts, he's gonna forcefully have to admit that humans are immoral forever. He's gonna forcefully have to admit this, guys. Listen to this, okay? But now go ahead, Cartesian.
What's objective morality? Like, why are you talking to your like one viewer?
Cartesian, stop asking the same question again. You know what's subjective
morality? You're saying like you guys, but like
if you look at the
screen, like one person is watching. So I don't know why you're saying that. But anyway, what do you mean by objective morality?
Argue with the argument.
I'm just making fun of you.
You're making yourself look really weird.
What does objective morality mean?
Okay, so that's my introduction to this dilemma that could solve this dilemma, is that there's an objective entity that guides morality, gives you a
but what's
book,
your, but
a
what is,
guide,
hold
something
on.
that tells you if you follow this book, you become moral.
Baby,
How is this an
Your-
how is this an
your
answer to the question?
definition-
What is objective
your-
morality?
Is your definition of objective morality
That's
something
my
that
answer
gives you
to
hope?
that question. My
Okay,
answer
so
to
let me
that
make sure I
question
understood
is
the
it's
answer.
objective morality. I'm gonna define everything about why I even introduced that term. I introduced
No,
objective
we're not asking you
morality.
why. Wait, I'm not asking you why you introduced the term, so I want to be clear a bit more here. I guess I'm asking you, what does that word mean? You know?
Okay, it's the solution to this dilemma. It's that we can talk about that, but right now I want to talk about this dilemma because I want to hear what your solution
You
to this
understand? I
dilemma
don't know
is.
what you mean.
What's
Wait,
your
hold up.
solution to this dilemma? You can sit here and intersect
Wait, but the
objective morality
claim
forever.
we're interested
That's
in
my
is that you
solution. You can
can't be
disagree.
moral.
Cartesian, you
Wait,
are
but the
allowed
claim
to
that we're
say,
interested
listen,
in is that you
Cartesian, let
can't
me
be moral
fucking
without
talk.
objective
You
morality.
need to let me talk, Cartesian. You're allowed to say, Cartesian, that yes, your answer to this dilemma is wrong, and this is my alternate theory. Can you go ahead and say that and provide an alternate theory to how humans are going to be
Do you
moral?
understand? Do you understand what claim I want to talk about?
No, because you want to talk about my definition
Okay.
of objective morality, but
Yeah,
that
I wanna
doesn't.
talk-
That's not efficient.
I want to
That's
talk
not
about the
sufficient.
statement
You
you
need to
made, which is
provide an
that.
alternate theory for how humans are going to be moral as well. You don't only break my theory, and I don't. You don't even have to break it. I agree with you. You're right. It's wrong. Objective morality is wrong. It doesn't exist. What is your theory? What's your alternate theory to humans becoming moral?
Okay.
You're going to concede that humans are immoral forever. Watch.
Okay. I'm interested in talking about the statement you made, which was that you can't be moral without objective morality. So I want you to explain what you mean by that. What do you mean by objective morality?
No. Okay. I'll tell you that after you tell me how humans are going to be moral without objective morality.
Wait, I don't know what you mean by objective morality.
So how can subjective entities be moral? Go ahead, explain that.
Wait, hold up. Are you saying you're not willing to explain what you meant when you made that statement?
I will, but I want you to give a counterclaim. Like I want to understand how you even come up with morality yourself. I want
Okay,
to
so
hear how subjective
before-
entity without a moral guide
Okay.
and objective.
Let's try to
guide,
make a priority of. Let's try to make a priority of topics here. So there's the statement
you have
you
to
made
understand
that we
this
want to
is
figure out what you meant by
completely
that.
Metaphysical.
Then
This
there's
is my
other
answer.
stuff about like our views. So let's just start with the statement you made. How about you try to explain what you meant by that before we go into other stuff?
So we're gonna sit here for an hour and a half trying to explain to you what objective morality is. No one is allowed to speak. You're gonna keep.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I want you to explain. In
And
other words, I
then-
want
and
you
then
to
after I
explain what you
100
mean
times,
by
we gotta keep
objective
explaining,
morality. Yeah,
guys. And he's gonna keep talking over me the whole time.
it shouldn't take an hour. It should be very simple, right?
Okay, I already explained to you. Objective morality is somebody that destroys this non-sufficient answer of subjective entities. So if there's a subjective entity, there has to be an objective entity that can see everything above everything, that has all knowledge about everything, that has basically, the way I would give you the analogy is has every piece of the puzzle and have assimilated the full puzzle and can see the final puzzle. While we are subjective entities, we are the pieces of the puzzle. That's how I would describe.
Can I make sure we're on the same page?
Is that
Like,
something
what
that
question
can
are you
understand?
answering?
No, you have to explain. Is that sufficient of an explanation to you? Do you know now what the objective entity is? It's somebody that has the full
What
picture.
question was that supposed to answer?
You asked me what is an objective morality.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm asking what objective morality is.
So yeah, it comes from the objective entity. So do you understand what objective?
I'm not asking where it comes from. I'm asking you what you mean by objective morality.
It's the guide it's the book, the reference that these religious people say that their objective entity gave them, that if they follow that guide they are moral, and if they don't they're immoral. That's what the objective morality is. It's the guide, it's the scripture, the book, whichever you want to call it.
Okay, so you're defining objective morality as a type of book.
By the way, what's your debate resume, Cartesian?
So is
I want to
objective
know
morality
if
a
I'm
type
talking
of
to a
book?
serious person. What's your debate resume? Good question, Nick.
So objective morality is a type of
I'm
book,
sorry,
is that
are you
correct?
going to answer my question?
No, it's irrelevant.
Manar, can you debate in good faith, dude? Like, he's just trying
trying to make sure I follow,
Because
so-
I've been trying to explain objective morality for
Debate resume?
a
I'm
minute
just trying to make
here.
sure I follow
I
your
just want
point.
to
So
make
what
sure
you're
that
saying
this guy's a
objective
human
morality
being
is a
that
type of
knows- that
book,
has
is that
had some
correct?
kind of history.
Wait, I'm just trying to make sure I follow your point. So, correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying objective morality is a type of book. Is that right?
So yeah, it would be the reference. Yes, the moral reference. It wouldn't be the actual entity. It would be something sent by the entity, a guide. Yes, so that you can go and reference. So and if you follow that guide, and yeah, look at this. The religious people completely answered my dilemma. Why don't look at you? You're so scared. You won't even dabble with my argument. Till now, by the way, guys. Till now, he's trying to understand what objective morality. He won't even let me introduce the argument, guys. Do you understand what's happening? He's talking about bad faith and good faith. He won't let me introduce the argument.
Sorry,
Matter,
I'm
I have a
sorry.
question.
My internet cut out, but I think you cut out right at the end there. Sorry, you cut
Would
out
you
right
allow
at
me
the
to
end there. You
introduce
said
the argument
you said
now?
it wouldn't be the entity. It would be the. Then I think you cut out. Can you repeat that last part, please?
Am I allowed to introduce the argument right now? Finally, the one that I wrote in the general chat. So you can dabble with it?
I'm still not sure I get what you mean by objective morality.
It's objective entities. Okay, I understand. You're having trouble. Okay, I understand. So objective entity would be the closest thing that subjective entity could understand to what is true. Okay, by the way, I think my internet just shut down. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
objective entity will send down guidance, and then subjective entity will interpret. So you're right. It will be subjective interpretation of what the objective morality is.
No,
but it
no,
would
wait.
still
I'm
be
I'm
an
trying to
objective
figure out.
morality.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out. So you're
I know
saying
where you're
objective
getting to,
morality
though.
is like
I'm a genius. I know where you're going with this
wait,
argument.
but you're saying objective morality is a type of book. Is that correct?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That's
What do you mean
nothing.
it doesn't matter?
It's
I'm
a
trying to
guide.
get
I
you to
introduced it
explain
as
what
a
you're
guide.
talking
How
about.
does this break anything? It's a guide. I introduced it as a reference. It's a guide. Could
So
be a
okay,
book, could be a
objective morality is a
tablet,
guide.
could be an iPad memo. It could be anything you want it to be. It could be on a web page,
Okay.
on the internet.
So you're telling me where it could be on, but what is it?
It's just words, just like anything in the world. It's words written down somewhere. Like anything
Are
else
they
in the
like
world.
commandments?
How do you know
Is
anything?
objective
Hey,
morality like a
Cartesian,
list of commands?
Cartesian, how do you know what your name is?
But is objective morality like a list of commands or something?
How do people know what your name is if you died, and how would you give somebody's, like, let me ask you, Cartesian, a question. If you died and you want to remind everyone how subjective morality is so great and secularism is amazing, how would you do it? Wouldn't you write down a book, and that's how all of information is going to be about you transmitted throughout all of the rest of history? So the idea that you're going to come here and try to contradict and act like books are not important is ridiculous, Cartesian. And I know what your argument is. I know where you're going. You're a
So
small
you're
level
telling me
debater.
where-
You're a small level debater.
You're telling me where objective morality could be. So you said like an iPad or a book.
Yeah,
But
like
what
anything
is
in the
it
world,
exactly?
like anything in the world, like any kind of information that's being transmitted anywhere, it's going to be shared on
But
something
like,
written
let me
down.
ask you. Let me try to steelman what you're saying. Is objective morality like
No,
a type
you
of
don't know what I'm
command
saying
to you?
because you won't let me introduce the argument. Now you're trying to argue another argument. Like
So
this
you've
is
told-
what's happening, guys. Look,
I
he
think
doesn't
you've
want to
told-
introduce an answer to the dilemma. He knows that humans are amoral forever. So instead of surrendering that, he wants to try to destroy my argument. I told him you're right. Objective entity is wrong. Yeah, you're right. My answer is bad. There's
Okay.
no objective entity. This is all BS.
Well, I don't
Why are we
even
even
understand
talking
what
about this?
you're.
I want
I
to
don't
hear
even
his
understand
solution.
what you mean by
I want to
objective
hear his
morality. Yet.
solution to the argument. He won't provide one. I'm telling you, you're right. You won from here. Okay, you're right. There's no
But
objective
I don't know what
entity.
you mean by
Cartesian,
objective
no.
morality yet.
There's no objective morality. You're right. You destroyed me. You destroyed.
Wait, but
You're
what? I'm
so
not sure
smart.
what you mean by that.
Go
So like,
ahead
look,
and
you've
give
given
a
me.
counter argument. How can you give a good theory that destroys
Oh,
this dilemma that humans are
talking?
immoral?
Okay, I'm trying really hard not to talk over you here, so you have to make it a bit
Holy
easier
shit.
for me.
Holy
So
shit.
look.
He won't answer a single question, but I'm supposed
So
to
look,
answer all
you
of them.
have. You started off saying it's like
Can
a book,
somebody
but then you
make
said,
fun
well,
of
no,
this
it doesn't
guy
matter.
on chat?
It doesn't matter where it is. It could be an iPad. It could be a TV, whatever it could be.
I
So,
disconnected for some
okay,
reason.
you've told me where it could be, but what is objective morality exactly to you?
I disconnected for some reason. Are you guys doxing me or something?
I can hear you. We can hear you. Everyone can hear you, I think. But what is objective morality? Is it like somebody's
Guys, okay, so
commandments?
I've
Like,
been
what
here.
exactly is it?
I've had the stream on for 30 minutes, for 20 minutes, and he's still asking the same question, guys.
Yeah, I don't think
he won't let me move forwards.
Matter.
He
I
won't
have
let
a
me move
question.
forwards, and he won't let me introduce any counter arguments or new arguments. And he will force upon me, no matter what I give him as a definition, he forces me to go into a loop again and
Well, we don't think
re-examine
you've
everything.
given a definition. So,
Wait,
like, let me tell you,
Matter.
like, let me
Can
tell you
you
how we
guys
want to
let us
approach
move
the
forward? I
conversation, or at
told
least
you
how I
objective
want to
morality
approach
doesn't
it.
exist. What's your solution to it?
Hold on. So let me tell you how I want to approach this. So we have this issue of you making a statement that you can't be moral without objective morality, and it seems like by objective morality you mean something that at least I don't understand. Okay, so let's deal with that
Can you
statement,
tell me
figure out
what
what
you
you
think
mean,
objective
and whether
morality
we agree or
is?
not,
And I'll
and
tell you
then
if you're
let's
right
go
or
to
wrong.
something different. You know, if
Tell
it's
me
about
what
my
you
view or
think
somebody
objective
else's view,
morality
fine.
means when I say
So, like,
it.
let's go in order: the first statement, the second statement, whatever.
Hey, Psycho, can you ask him what he thinks objective morality is? Can you ask him that
By the way, if
question, please?
somebody's
Because he's not going
recording
to
this,
answer any of my
please mute him
questions.
when I'm talking. If somebody's recording this, because like he's like really talking over people here.
Psycho, can you please ask him what does he think objective morality is, and I'll tell him if he's right or wrong, so I just don't have to repeat everything and understand.
Well, it's not useful. What I think it is not useful, Minar. It's clear that you're using it in a way that's like
Can you
not
just
in accord with the
explain it?
philosophical tradition.
Okay, define it.
Which
Go
is
ahead.
why I'm trying to
What is
figure out what
objective
you mean
morality to you?
exactly.
When I say that word, what do you understand? Go ahead.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Can you say anything? You guys, you see how he's not answering anything, guys? This is ridiculous. This is all recorded live right now,
Well,
guys.
look, it just sounds like this guy's a waste of time.
Okay, so when I say objective
Like you
morality,
just aren't
what do
willing to
you see in
explain
your
what you're
head?
talking about.
What do you see? So I can tell you if you're right or wrong.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
So
Manar,
I say
why-
objective morality.
Why
Definite-
can't you just explain it?
Yeah, like he asks you, what do you
He
mean
just
by
wants to
objective
know what
morality?
you
And
mean by
you
objective.
answer completely
Epistemology
irrelevant
behind
questions.
epistemology.
Like you say, oh, objective morality comes from ... That's not the question he asked. He didn't ask where it comes from. He asked, what do you mean by it?
Objective morality is just the moral reference coming from the book. If you follow the moral of the of this book, of this guy that the objective entity gave you, and that's the litmus test by itself. That's its own debate. That's its own debate,
Is
guys.
objective
That's a
morality
different
a type
debate.
of-
You have just said that 10 minutes
Wait.
ago.
But
is
I've-
objective morality a type? Is it a type of commandment?
What? I don't
Right.
understand. Why are you changing? Why
So
are
it
you adding
sounds
new
like-
words? I just described
It sounds like by objective morality, you're talking about like a command that has been ushered by some sort of being.
Sure. Yeah, it's the following of certain scriptures, and if you do not follow them, then
Okay.
you prove to be immoral. Like to the.
So it's a command ushered by
the
a
objective
being, right?
entity.
Well, let's make sure we agree. So objective morality, minimally, it's a type of command or a collection of commands that have been ushered by a type of being. Is that correct? Minimally.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
An
Now,
objective
what
being.
type of being exactly?
Objective.
Okay, and what do you mean by an objective being?
Outside of time and space, has knowledge of all things, and is capable
Okay,
of
all knowing,
things.
outside of time and space. Fair. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Objective morality is a set of commands ushered by a being that's outside of time and space and is all knowing. Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's an
So
yeah.
now we know what objective morality means. That's one piece of the puzzle. What does
Cool.
it mean to be moral, on your view?
Yeah, to be moral is to follow these moral commandments. Yes.
Okay, so to be
Because
moral is
humans-
to follow. Wait.
Humans can call
be
whatever they
moral-
want as moral. Like for example, when secular countries, communities, they disagree upon each other with what's moral. If we would
Okay, so
say
correct
that
me if I'm wrong. Wait, one second.
let me explain something. If we would say that
Wait,
the
no,
laws of a country,
wait, this isn't relevant. Wait, somebody mute him when I'm talking. Okay, when whoever is recording, make sure to mute him when I'm talking because like he's really like yelling here. Okay, so you're saying that to be moral is to follow the commands of the objective being, right? Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay, so when you said that you can't be moral without objective morality, you're saying that if
appears
there
to
aren't
you.
any, wait 1 second, you're saying something that's basically like true by definition. If there aren't
What?
commands that have been ushered by this objective being, then you can't follow them because there aren't any commands. That's all you're saying, correct? Right, and
What?
is that correct?
No.
So it
what
seems
I'm-
like when
what
you
I'm
said that you
saying
can't be
is-
moral without objective morality, you're saying something trivial.
What I'm saying
namely
is
that you can't follow. you can't follow the commands of
I'll tell you what I'm
a
saying, Cartesian.
timeless, all-knowing being if there are no
Exactly.
commands that have been ushered by an existing timeless, all-knowing being.
Cartesian, what I'm saying is if you do not follow, if you as a subjective entity decide to not follow an objective entity, you're always amoral. Always.
But you
it might
defined.
appear to you
Wait
to
a
be
second.
moral, but it's only that for a
Wait a
slight
second.
amount of time.
Wait a
and
second.
It's very subjective.
Wait a second. Your definition of being moral was acting in accord with the commands of a timeless, all-knowing being, correct? That's your
Sure,
definition
yeah.
of being moral, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying that if there is no such being, or if there is no such being who has issued those commands, then you can't act in accordance with them. That's what you mean when you say that if there's no objective morality,
give me power
you can't
to
be moral.
turn on
That's all
my
you're saying,
camera.
correct?
Give me power to turn on my camera. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hold up. I'm not a mod here. I don't own the server. That's not gonna work.
Whoever does, give me power. Go ahead.
But do you understand what I'm saying? So you defined objective morality as the commands that have been ushered by a timeless, all-knowing being, timeless, spaceless, all-knowing
Sure.
being. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Get to your point.
That's what objective morality is, right? Now, to be moral is to follow those commands. So you're saying if those
Whereas
commands
out of
don't
that-
exist, then you can't follow
The guy
them. That's
hasn't
all
made
you're
a point
saying,
yet.
correct?
Sure. Okay. I'm trying to get you to get.
Who would disagree with that?
What?
Who would disagree with that?
Who would what?
Who would disagree that if certain commands don't exist, I can't follow them?
Not me.
That's like saying if a unicorn doesn't exist, I can't pet it. Yeah, obviously. Who cares?
So are you
Like,
trying to
You
argue?
think anybody would disagree with that?
Are you trying to argue that there isn't a moral standard that all humanity should follow? Is that
I'm
what
saying
your
all
argument
you're
is?
saying is something trivial. You're just saying that if
I'm
these commands
asking you
don't
a
exist, I
question.
can't
Are
follow
you
them.
saying that all morality has there's no moral standard for all of humanity? Is that your whole argument here?
No, all I'm saying is
So
that
then
your
it's easy.
claim
Then it's
earlier,
easy to understand
your
that
claim,
there
by the way,
could be a
somebody make
guide
sure
that guides the
on the
moral compass
recording
for all humanity.
he's muted when I'm talking. Just make sure that happens.
No,
Okay.
you need to stop
Now
spurting
I'm
out.
saying that your claim, which initially was if there's no objective morality, you can't be moral. That just amounts to
Okay,
saying if
do
certain commands have not been
Do
ushered,
you believe
I
there's a
can't
moral
follow
standard?
them, which is no different from saying something analogous to. If
I
there's
need
no
to understand who I'm
unicorn, I can't
debating.
pet it.
I need to understand
Nobody
who I'm
would
debating.
disagree with that.
Wait, Mason. What if I say this? Wait, Minar. Okay, what if I define being moral as following the commands of my grandma, and objective morality as the commands
you're
of my
following
grandma?
another
then,
subjective
then,
entity.
Then
Yeah,
no.
you're
Then what I'm
failed.
saying is you
Davey,
can't be
he's not gonna
moral
track
without
any of this,
objective
come on.
morality. I'm
No,
just
no,
saying
the
I can't
moment
follow the
you told
commands
me
of my
you followed the
grandma without
commandment-
the commands of my grandma. Like
The moment you say
He's
you
not
follow the
gonna-
commandments
I'm not
of
even
a
sure he's
subjective
tracking what
entity,
I'm
you
saying
failed
right
the
now.
test. You failed it.
Yeah.
You have to prove you're following.
Wait,
the
Minar,
he doesn't
can you-
understand like the substitution of the definitions.
Okay,
Mon-
prove that
Minar,
you
can
can
you try
follow
to
an objective
steelman?
entity. Go
Wait,
ahead, as an
Minar,
atheist.
Minar, can you try to steelman?
He's technically
second.
given a proper and valid.
Just one second, just 1 second. Can you try to steelman the point I'm making?
Okay, here it is. Here it is, guys.
Okay.
I don't know what your point actually, because your whole point was
You don't know
there's
my
no
point. So
objective
here-
morality. Your whole point is
Okay, you don't know
that
the point.
if you cannot actually have a moral standard. Is that your point? That you,
You
don't
think-
have
you
a
think
Okay, you
that's what
don't
he
know
said?
the point.
That's
You don't
what he
even
said. He said-
understand.
Let me finish, guys. Let me finish.
You don't
Is
even
is your
understand the
point
point.
that there's no objective moral standard?
No.
to your point?
No.
Then what is your
no.
You don't
point
even
then?
understand the point.
That's
So
not
here,
even
So
how about
why
close
is
to
it
the
so
point.
How about
hard
this?
for
Stop-
you?
Stop
Why is it so hard for you?
responding.
Let me
don't
finish,
understand.
man.
responding.
Let me finish a moment. You have
Stop
to let me speak.
responding if you don't understand the point. Okay.
All right, let's
Okay.
see if you can actually describe it easily. Go ahead, describe what you
Okay, here's the
summarize.
point. Your original claim was that if there's no objective morality, then you can't be moral. And your definition of objective morality was the commands ushered by a being who is spaceless and timeless and all-knowing, etc. Right? And your definition of what it is to be moral is to follow those commands. So when you say that if there's no objective morality, you can't be moral, all you're saying is that if these commands don't exist, if no one has ushered these commands, then we can't follow them, which is completely trivial. It's like saying if there's no unicorns, then we can't pet them. Obviously, we can't pet them because they don't exist, right? So you're saying something completely trivial that nobody disagrees with. That's the
Okay,
point.
you're right. You defeated me. Okay, now you need to provide us
Okay, so
theory.
he still doesn't understand.
No,
Well,
he
I'm
need
not.
now
I'm not.
Cartesian.
I'm not
Hey, let me
interested
speak,
in
guys.
fake.
Why are you speaking
I'm not
out? Let me
interested in like
speak. Let me
fake
speak.
pretending.
You need to. No, you're now
to
you're gonna let
move
me
on
speak.
the
I'm not gonna let you
conversation to
interrupt me.
something
I'm not gonna let you
tangential.
interrupt me. No, you gotta let
I'm
me speak.
interested
So
in
now
you
you win. Now you win.
understanding the
Now go ahead and
point and
provide a
appreciating it.
theory. Provide the theory of how humans are gonna be moral. Go ahead. Go ahead. You won. Okay, you won the debate. Go
Can you
ahead.
try to
Provide it.
steal man the point?
No, I don't want to steal man anything. I gave it to you. You have a total
Okay.
victory. Give
So
me
we're
your
not going to
alternate
move
theory. So
on.
now I need to
We're not
debaucher
going to
your
move
theory.
on
Now I want to
until
debaucher
you
your theory.
appreciate the point and then reproduce it.
No. I want to destroy your. I already gave it to you. You
We're not
destroyed
going to
me. You
move
won the
on.
debate.
We're
Now
not
go
going to
ahead
move
and give
on
me your counter argument. So I
until
embarrass
you
you now. My turn. Go
demonstrate
ahead. Look,
understanding
guys. Look
of
how
the point
scared he
being made.
is. Look, the problem is I'll
We're
give
not
it to
going to move
him. I'll
on.
give if he can give me anything else. I'm not attached to the objective morality argument. That's not my whole argument. My whole
He's
argument is
talking
that
to the
humans
two
are
viewers in his
amoral.
chat right now.
Hey, can you mute Cartesian? Guys, the whole argument is that humans are
He's
amoral
talking to the
forever,
two
and
viewers in his
Cartesian won't
live stream right
provide any
now,
other way for
unfortunately.
humans to be moral. Ever. All he
Okay.
has is answers to my moral dilemma
Talking to the two
situation. I
viewers,
introduced an
listening to
objective
whatever he's
entity,
doing.
which I agree with him. Maybe it's not a good introduction. Maybe it's a bad theory. Go ahead, provide
We're
your
not
own
going to
theory
move
of how
on.
humans are going to be moral forever. Go ahead.
Okay, we're not going to move on.
What guide do they follow?
We're not going to move on until you demonstrate understanding of the point. Okay. Are you able to steel man the point being made?
I won't. I refuse to because I already gave it to you. I already gave you. You won your
Okay,
point.
you
won your
refuse.
point.
So let's
You
be
won
clear
it.
here. Let's be
Now you
clear.
have
You
to answer
refuse
my
to
point.
demonstrate.
Now it's my turn. Now it's
One
my
second.
turn. No,
No, bec- no,
Cartesian,
And by the
I
way,
don't just
issue
make
keep
is there-
sure
following
he's
the
you.
last-
muted on the recording when I'm
Yeah,
talking.
the
Just
last
make sure
time.
he's
Yeah,
muted.
the issue with Minar is the last time he attempted to give an understanding, he completely floundered. So that's why we need to make sure, after explaining it to you for the third time, that you actually understood it this time. Although I don't get the
That's
impression
correct.
that you did.
So, Minar, can you at least try to reproduce the point? What do
Yeah,
you
if
think
there's
the
no
point is?
unicorn, you can't pet it. So if there's no objective entity, how can you expect the objective entity is gonna guide you? I already gave it to you. You're right. You
No, hold
defeated
up,
me.
no.
There's no objective
Well, that's
entity.
not exactly right. That's you said.
Oh
So you
my
repeated the thing
God.
we said about unicorns, but that's not exactly right because the point we're trying to show you is that the statement you made initially is a trivial truth, right? Can you
This is
acknowledge? Like, do you
bullshit,
know
bro.
why we're saying it's trivial?
This is bullshit.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's the question?
Okay. Menard, we're saying that the statement you made, in other words, if there's no objective morality, you can't be moral. We're saying that is a trivial statement that nobody would disagree with. Do you know why we're saying that?
Because you don't believe objective morality exists.
Oh my god.
No, not exactly.
Then
So,
why?
let's just
then
walk
why?
you through
Then
it.
why? Then why? Then why?
Okay, let's just use an example.
No,
Imagine if I said...
explain it without an
One second.
example. Why?
One second.
He's gonna
One
use
See, he
an
second.
doesn't
example to
know.
explain it.
You don't
I
know.
don't think he knows
You're
what-
acting
I don't think he
smart, but
knows
you're
what
dumber
Cartesian
than a
Let's
rock.
just make it as simple as possible. If I told you...
I'm talking to a rock. I'd rather talk to the wall.
If I told
think he
you...
knows
How
what
about you stop with the
trivial
meta
means.
and how about you stop with the meta and you just
Okay,
engage
then I'm
with the
asking him a
substance?
question. Why won't he answer it? Why is he giving me
He's literally
examples of
answering it.
random?
If I
He's
told you
over
if
him.
unicorns don't exist, then you can't pet a unicorn, would you agree that that's trivially true?
If
Would you agree with me?
unicorns don't exist, then you cannot.
Then
pet
I
a
can't
unicorn.
pet the unicorn.
So if unicorns existed, you could pet them.
No, but you... No,
So
I'm
what
saying
you're
the
saying is
statement-
if unicorns
no, wait a
existed,
second.
I
Wait a
could
second.
pet unicorns.
No, Minar, wait. If I say if unicorns don't exist, then I can't pet a unicorn.
Yeah, that means
Do
if
you
unicorns
agree that's
existed, you
trivially
could
true?
pet unicorns.
That's
No,
not true.
wait,
That's
no,
not true.
Minar,
That's exactly
Minar,
what he's
Minar.
saying. That's literally
Minar.
exactly what he's saying.
Just let him finish. Okay. If I say if unicorns don't exist, then I can't pet a unicorn.
So if unicorns
agree that
existed,
that's
you
true?
can pet unicorns.
That doesn't follow.
What's the question?
So what does it mean then? If unicorns can't exist, doesn't exist, then you can't
What's
pet them.
the-
What does that
Minar,
mean?
what-
That means
what
if
am
they
I
don't
asking
exist,
you?
you cannot pet them, right?
What's the question? What's the question?
Holy shit! Am I talking to an ant? Like,
Can you
understand
Okay,
any
wait,
reproduce
logic?
the question? Can
Yeah,
you reproduce
if
the
unicorns
question?
don't exist, if unicorns don't exist, you cannot pet unicorns. And I'm telling you, so yeah, you're
Okay.
right. It means that if unicorns existed, though, then you could pet them, right?
That doesn't follow.
No, that's not true.
But that's the statement you're making. If you're saying if unicorns
No.
don't exist, then you
No.
can't pet them.
We're
That
saying
means if
if unicorns
unicorns existed,
don't-
you
we're
could
saying-
pet them.
No, we're saying if unicorns
Holy
don't
shit.
exist, then you aren't able to pet the unicorn.
Yeah, but if they existed, you could.
That
No,
doesn't
because
follow.
it could be that they
Manar.
don't that they that
Wait,
That's
they
the
don't
same
exist,
statement
like,
you're
look,
making.
It could just be the case that it could be the case that you can't pet unicorns regardless of if they do exist or don't, right?
Okay, can you say if dogs don't exist, you can't pet them?
Oh my god.
But
Manar,
do you agree that if
Can you say
unicorns
if dogs don't
exist,
exist, you can't
hold on,
pet them? That means
hold on,
your argument is
hold on,
trash. You have a
hold on,
shit
hold
talk.
on,
You don't know what your
hold on.
talk points is.
hold on. Do you agree that if
Guys, if you
a
don't have a
unicorn,
dog,
hold
then
on,
you cannot pet
Why
them,
is it so-
guys.
why is it so
Okay?
hard
If
to
you
answer
don't
this
have a
question?
dog, you cannot
hold
pet
on,
them.
hold on. Do you agree that if a unicorn doesn't exist, then you aren't
Guys,
able
if
to
dogs
pet the
don't
unicorn? Do you
exist,
agree
you
with that?
cannot pet them. Okay? Understand
Can you just
that.
give me a
This
straight
is
answer to the
Cartesian's
question?
whole argument here to why
Can you
there's
Very
give a
no
simply
straight
yes or
morality.
answer
no. I
to
don't
the
know why you're
question?
not just answering the question.
Okay, you're
Can you
right.
give a
If
straight
dogs don't
answer?
exist, you cannot pet them. You're right.
If unicorns don't, okay, let's just we have to. If he understands the dog analogy, let's try it with dogs. Do you agree that if dogs don't exist, I can't pet a dog? If
You're
a dog
right.
doesn't exist,
But if they
right?
existed, you could, right?
Okay, if
Okay,
dogs
cool.
don't exist, I can't pet a dog.
You're right. And if
Great,
but if
great.
they did, you could.
Now, in the same way, now here is the analogy, right? Now you would agree that that's obviously true. If a dog doesn't exist, I can't like pet one because it's not there, right? You agree it's
Sure.
obviously true, correct?
Sure.
Okay. Now you're saying something analogous. You're saying if these commands don't exist, if nobody has ushered a command, then I can't follow it because nobody has ushered any sort of command to follow.
No, that's what you're
Right?
saying. I'm saying somebody did.
No,
usher
that's
the
your.
command.
No, that's what you're. Hold
I'm
up,
saying
wait,
the
but you agree
commands
that,
do exist, and you
wait a
need to
second.
pet them.
Manar, if you were saying, okay,
Psycho,
if
come on,
you-
that was funny, Psycho. You gotta
if
laugh.
somebody said in
Psycho,
a
that was funny,
hypothetical,
bro.
hypothetically speaking, if it were, let's say like I told you, no, if I were saying something like, if these
Where's that
commands
hot
don't
girl? She
exist,
left?
then you can't follow them. Would that be trivially true?
Monkey boy, who's confused? Me? What?
He's
If
What's
I
just
said
trivially
that-
talking
true?
to other people that he's not even.
If I told you-
If you say that if dogs don't exist, I cannot pet them, then I'll be like, okay, sure, cool, nice
Yeah, that's
argument.
trivially true. Now, okay, that's trivially true. The dog example.
I'll be like, yeah, sure, okay,
in the
cool.
same way.
But
in the
then
same way,
I'll
if
be
I
like,
say-
haha, you're
in the
right.
same
And if
way-
they did exist,
in the
then we
same
would
way-
have to pet them,
in
right?
the same way, if I say that
All right,
if
you
a
have to prove
command,
objective morality doesn't
if I
exist.
say, Manar, come on, you have to calm down here.
Okay, at the end of the argument,
I
you're gonna
say-
get to that. You're gonna prove.
Okay,
that
make sure
objective morality
he
doesn't
stays
exist,
muted
right?
when I'm talking. If I say that if a command doesn't exist, then nobody can follow it. Would you agree that that is also trivially true?
There's the. Oh, he changed his picture. That's not a hot girl.
Do you agree that it's true that if a command doesn't exist, then we can't follow it? Do you agree with that?
If a command doesn't exist, we cannot follow it. But if
The-
it did, you would have to follow it, right?
No, but hold on. No, do you agree that if a command doesn't exist, we can't
You're
follow
right.
it?
You're right.
Do
We
you
couldn't. But do you
Okay,
agree if
one-
it
now-
did
now
exist,
one
then
more
you would
question.
have to follow
I
it,
have one more
right?
question. I have one more
No,
question.
but no,
That doesn't follow.
I will give it to you.
That doesn't follow.
But
That does
I'll
not
answer
follow
your
logical.
question. No, I'll answer your question. But you agree also, according to that logic, that if there is a commandment, then you would have to also.
That doesn't follow. You're confused
That
about
follows
basic
your logic. That literally follows your logic.
No, it doesn't. Okay, now Manar.
So
last
the logic
question.
of it, there's no
One
command,
second.
you cannot follow
Wait,
it. That
wait,
it doesn't
wait,
follow
Wait, Mason.
Okay.
Wait,
from
Mason,
it. That if
wait,
there is a
Mason.
commandment, you would follow it.
Wait,
No,
Manar.
just-
Wait, Manar.
yeah.
Manar. Wait, Manar.
So
do you
guys,
wanna
this
look
is
in chat
JV. It's
just
not
real
the
quick?
P
Manar.
minus Q. It's the negative argument. It's a negative
guys, look,
logic
we can
argument.
address.
It's not a P
look,
to Q.
David,
It's not
we
an
can address
implication
the
argument.
confusion about logic, but just not now.
No,
He's-
it's
too-
a removal of the
He
negative
can't
argument in
handle
logic.
multiple topics at the same time.
You can remove
he can't
negatives in
handle it.
logic. You are allowed to remove negatives in logic.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Calm down. Okay.
Holy shit.
He's
So
confused about
from
logic.
your
We'll address it.
argument,
Look,
if you
guys,
say if there's no
we'll
commandments, you
address it
cannot
later.
follow
He
them,
can't
it
handle
also
work
does
and one being
follow
at the
that
same
if there
time.
is commandments, you're forced to follow them now.
No, it
Basically.
doesn't follow.
Guys,
Okay,
just
that
please-
means you don't know
please
logic.
respond to
You're
this.
what's the inference rule where that
No,
follows
It's
from?
not an
Guys,
inference
he-
rule. It's a
guys, he
negative.
doesn't know what an inference
It's a double
rule means,
negative
guys,
rule.
come
If
on.
there's two double negatives,
No.
you can make them a positive.
No, wait. Okay,
Do you
just-
think Why that if are we even using, Q entails like- not P then not Q?
guys, please.
Yeah, it's a not P, not Q.
Doesn't he know
Therefore,
it's like
P is
a
Q.
positive for
He
logic?
doesn't
You think-
understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Just don't
Okay.
respond to this, please.
Okay, okay.
He knows.
go on,
He
go on,
knows.
Jason.
He knows double negation.
No, he doesn't.
It
understand.
literally is double negation. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Wait.
That's
wait,
why
Mason,
the argument
just give me
follows.
10 seconds. Just give me 10
guys,
seconds.
Guys,
Just wait.
guys, what are you doing?
Manar, look in chat. Do you see that in chat? Do you see it?
Yes,
Just yes or no.
word.
Do you see it in chat? Do you see how P entails Q entails not
Yeah,
P entails
but
not Q
if-
is invalid on a tree proof generator?
But Right, Davey, he doesn't know what you're talking about.
But if it's negative, no, that's not the argument though. If P is Q, the argument is if not
Guys are
negative
just like letting
P,
him derail. What are you
therefore
doing?
is negative Q, then P is therefore
How many,
Q.
how many times do I have to
Dude, that's
say
the
this?
same
You guys are
thing.
Try
just
that
giving him
argument.
stuff
Try
now,
that.
bro.
Switch
Same
the
thing.
symbolism. Change him. Change
He's
the
doing that
symbolism.
exactly. He's doing that right now. I
Change the
literally said
symbolism,
don't go
Davey,
into
and send
this.
it to us. Change that.
Wait, change it to what?
So put the negative
No,
at the beginning, and then put the therefore
Are
the
you
P
hearing what I'm
therefore
saying?
Q.
Davey, stop. Please stop, Davey. Let's not do this. It's not
Davey, I'll
going
tell you
anywhere.
what he's trying to do. Hold on.
Okay. Look, do you agree? So you agree that if commands don't exist, we obviously can't follow them. Would you say that's obviously true?
Sure.
Okay. That's what you're saying. Now let's explain what. Okay, so we agree that if somebody were saying that, it would be obviously true and not interesting. Sure. Let's show you how that's what
Man,
you're
this
saying.
is so not interesting.
Right,
I already gave it
because
to you.
yours because you defined objective morality
I already let
as a
him
set
win.
of commands
I let him
ushered
win.
by
Okay,
a type
you're right.
of
There's
being.
no objective morality.
Right, and you're saying so when you say objective
No, you
morality
already
does not
defeated
exist.
me. There's no objective morality. What's your argument?
Manar. When you say objective morality does not exist, you're saying those commands don't exist, and you define being moral as following those commands. So when you say if objective morality doesn't exist, you can't be moral. You're saying if those commands don't exist, you can't follow them. Do you follow what I just said?
So if not P is not Q.
No. Just do you follow what I just said?
What?
Okay. Please try to listen so I don't have to repeat it again. I'm begging you. Okay. You're saying you defined objective morality as a bunch of commands issued by a type of being. Is that correct?
Sure.
Now you defined what it is to be moral as following the commands ushered by that type of being, correct? Correct?
Sorry? Yeah.
You
You follow their
defined-
morality.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what it means to be moral. So let's just substitute, we're using your definition here. So when you say, if objective morality doesn't exist, you can't be moral. You guys, all you're saying is that if these commands don't exist, you can't follow them. Do you understand?
Yeah, okay, sure. You're right.
Perfect.
So what?
Okay, so you agree that, so now you agree that if somebody said that, it would be trivially true. So you agree that your initial claim was trivially true.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I told you. Yeah, it's just a random introduction
Okay.
to a dilemma.
Perfect.
So go ahead and
So now
produce
we
your
now
introduction.
have a concession
Of
that
what?
the original claim you made was completely trivial
what?
and uninteresting.
Of
Okay,
what?
now let's deal with the logic. Okay. So let's just deal with the logic. So let's just write down somebody claim and somebody else can write them down. So you're saying if we have a statement, if unicorns don't exist, we can't pet them. Now you're saying that entails that if unicorns did exist, then we can pet them? Is that what you're saying? Is that your claim?
Yeah, like that means from that
Okay.
logic, that means if unicorns did exist, then you could pet them.
Okay, so let's formalize it. So can you look into side chat? Are you able to do that?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a P and Q argument.
Are you able to look into side chat?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So we have a proposition unicorns don't exist. We have a proposition you can't pet them. So let's symbolize it this way. Not U implies not P. So if it's not the case that unicorns exist, then it's not the case you can pet them. Do we
Sure.
agree with that symbolization? Okay. Now the reverse claim. Now here's the reverse claim. If unicorns did exist,
Then you could pet them.
then you could pet them. So you're saying not U implies not P. That entails U implies P. That, in other words, that's your claim, correct?
So what do you mean entails? Entails like therefore?
Entails as in it's possible. So it's impossible for the first to be true and for the second to be false.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So now, if we were to show you using a logic theorem prover that this entailment doesn't hold in propositional logic, would you concede you're wrong?
But sure, like it's just an argument that you
Yes.
produce. Like what is
So let's
what
just
does
be
that
clear.
even
Let's
mean
just,
then?
just
So what does that
just
even
for
mean?
everybody to
So
hear
if
it.
unicorns
Just
do
for
exist,
wait,
then you
one
cannot
second.
pet them.
Minar, you didn't
Still,
answer my question. Minar, you didn't answer me.
do you even
If
understand
we
what
were to
that
show
like
you,
according to your
if
own
we were to
example what
show you,
that even would mean?
Minar, now you're being in bad faith. You're trying to weasel away here.
Holy shit.
If
Okay,
we
I'm
were
just
to
trying to
show
ask.
you,
I'm asking you to describe what it means.
Minar, this is so dishonest. Okay. If we were to show you that this entailment doesn't hold with a theorem prover, will you concede that you are wrong?
About what?
Just yes or no.
About what? Am I wrong about what? So we even know what you
About
even know.
about not you implies not P, and
Okay,
telling
then
that you
what does
implies
that
P.
even do to the whole argument? I'm just trying to understand. So
All
your
I'm asking you
inference
is that
of
I'm
if there's no
asking
unicorns, then
you
there's
just to be
no, you
honest
cannot
here.
pet them. So that means
Just
if there is
asking you to be
unicorns,
honest
you
here.
could pet them is wrong? Is that what you're trying to say
Minar.
according to your logic argument?
Minar, I'm asking you that just because, saying if we have the case that not
By the
you
way,
is true,
that's actually wrong.
I'm saying
That's
it
why your
doesn't
logic
follow.
calculator. Hey,
It doesn't follow from
let me defend
Minar.
myself. Let me defend
Now
myself.
you're trying to run away.
Okay, can I defend
Minar, now
myself,
you're
guys?
trying
Can
to
I
run
get
away.
15 seconds? Can I get 15
Okay,
seconds?
whoever's under recording, mute him when he's talking under recording. Go ahead.
Can I get 15 seconds? Okay. So here it is.
Go
guys.
ahead.
So if not P, he said if not U equals P. I don't infer from that or pull from that anything. I actually just give the counter argument. You're right. If not P, therefore Q, then if P, therefore Q. That's all I do. I'm not inferring or pulling away from that anything.
Make sure he's muted under recording here.
I have 5 more seconds.
Make sure he's muted for all of this.
All I'm saying is if he's saying not U, therefore not P. I'm saying, well, that's cool, and I can give you an argument if there is U, therefore P. That's all I'm doing.
Okay.
I'm not
So
even
if we were to
inferring
show
from him
you,
anything.
Minar,
This is what he weaseled in. I have to pull my inference from him. I don't have to pull
do
my
not
inference from him.
let
I
any
have
of
to
this
give
play under
just a
recording.
counter
Mute
inference.
all of this. Do not let any of it show. Okay, Minar. Okay, unmute it now, of course. Minar, if we were to show you that it doesn't follow from the conditional, not U implies not P,
You're right.
that
It doesn't.
U
It
implies
doesn't.
P.
You're right.
Minar,
It doesn't follow.
now I just let you finish and you're interrupting me.
I told you.
we
Yeah,
were
you're
to
right.
show
Because
you,
that's not my
If
argument.
we
My
were,
argument is I made
Minar,
a counter
you're
argument.
too afraid to let me talk.
Okay, sure.
You're too afraid to let me talk. If we were to show you that it doesn't follow from the conditional, not U implies not P, that U implies P.
Yeah, you're
Would
right.
you
It
concede,
doesn't because that's not my
Minar?
argument.
I need to get the question out. If we were to show you that it doesn't follow from the conditional, not U implies not P, that U implies P, will you concede you're wrong? Just yes or no?
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. I don't. That's not my whole argument, though. That's not my argument.
No, but wait,
You
I didn't get a clear answer. I didn't get a
Cartesian,
clear
can I
answer.
get 10
Minar, I
seconds?
did.
Cartesian, I
Okay,
have to
make
get
sure
10
he's muted.
seconds. I
Make
have
sure
to
he's
get 10
muted.
seconds.
Just mute him on recording.
I have to get 10 seconds. Okay, so you said not you, therefore not P. I agree with you. Negative, not you, therefore not P. You're right. If there's no U, then there's no P. Then I came in and I told you, well, what if there is U? Is there P? Now, would you disagree with that? Would you disagree that that's a logical argument?
He's talking right now. He's
I'm not
rambling, not
inferring
giving a
it from
clear
your
answer to the
argument.
question.
I'm introducing my
So
own
what we're
argument.
doing, so he's muted right now under recording. I hope so, ideally. Ideally, he should be muted right now under recording. And when he's done, we'll mute him and ask him the same question.
I mean, Mason, maybe he shouldn't be muted because it's actually funnier that he's trying to like back off of his original.
Yeah.
What he
Because
said
I
entails what he's
realize now the
saying.
logic. I don't need to use negative U, negative B
Okay,
to make my argument.
Minar,
I just have to
Minar.
introduce my own argument. I don't have to. This is
What you
clear in the
said was,
world.
but
So you're gonna tell
but
me,
Mason,
no,
what you said
no,
entails
no,
this.
Davey, what you're trying to say is I cannot say that dogs can be pet unless somebody says that dogs cannot be pet.
All right, if you
that
want,
there's
if you,
dogs
No
being
one
Monkey
pet.
Boy, if
said
you
that.
think it's
That's what
Nobody
you're
said
trying to say.
that.
So of course,
If
that's
you
not
think
what
it's
I said.
funnier,
I
you can
cannot
have him
infer that.
rambling
I
if
can
you
never
want.
infer that. I can
If you think it's
say
funnier
that
for like
dogs
the
can
recording,
be
you can
pet.
have him ramble. It's fine.
What you said was that what Mason said entails what
No,
you're
what
saying.
you're trying to say, Davey, is my argument was that I have to follow his negative argument all the time. That I
Wait, but
cannot
Minar, hold
by
up.
myself make my own claim that dogs can be
Minar.
pet in the real world.
Minar,
I
wait,
have
hold
to
up.
first look at him, but that's not my argument. You're right. That's why it
Wait,
came out as
wait, hold
invalid,
on.
Davey. Do you see it?
Hold on,
But that's not
hold
my
on,
argument. My
hold on,
argument is he made
hold on.
an argument and he
Hold
can
on,
go with it and
hold
he
on,
can try to prove
hold
it. And
on.
I made an argument, which is that dogs could be pet as well if they existed.
Okay,
So that
okay.
doesn't have to infer from his argument. You understand?
Okay.
That's why he.
And by the way, I'll say
he
a few more
succeeded in
things.
that.
I'll say one thing, which is like, if you guys think it's funnier to have him like rambling like this, I won't object. Like, I'm not going to tell you to mute him anymore. Do whatever you want. But Manar, can you at least
mean, if
agree
I'm
to just
getting destroyed,
answer?
you wouldn't
Manar,
be,
we've been
like, nonstop
wait,
trying
but
to
now you're
interrupt me.
interrupting me again. You're interrupting me again.
If I'm
Can
getting
you agree to
destroyed.
answer? Can you agree to answer a question with a yes or a no, please?
What a ridiculous guy. What a ridiculous guy. Sure.
Okay. If we were to show you that it doesn't follow from the conditional not U implies not P, that U implies P, will you concede you are wrong?
Sure,
Yes or no?
because that's not my argument at all. You're
Yes,
right. Yeah,
okay.
you're right.
Does anybody? Okay, yes. Does
That's not my
anybody
argument.
have the
That's not my
theorem
argument,
proof?
though. I'm
Can
not wrong
somebody
because
post
that's
the
not my
image?
argument.
Can somebody post the image?
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
repost
guys,
it.
is my argument not that
Okay.
if there is dogs, you could
Manar,
be pet?
can you look? Manar, can
Is
you look
my
in the
argument
side chat
not
for a
if there's
second?
dogs, you could be pet? If
Manar,
he's gonna try
can
to
you look
say
in-
that if there's no dogs, you cannot pet, my
Can
counter
you look
argument
into
is
side
yeah,
chat
you're
for a
right. But
second?
if there is dogs, then you could be pet.
Okay, no, hold up. Wait, can you look into side chat for a second?
The problem is, can you write that?
No,
the
that's
problem is you
wrong.
don't understand
Can you
what
look-
is happening, Cartesian.
Can you
got
look into side
you're
chat
getting
for- wait,
destroyed,
can you look in-
Cartesian.
wait,
You're being
wait, hold
illogical
on.
completely. You
Can
don't even
you-
know what
wait.
you're arguing against.
Wait, can you
Manar,
look into?
you
Are
said
you
you
able?
can see the side
Wait.
chat. Can you look in the side chat?
Can you look into side chat, please?
Sure, yeah, but that's not that's
Okay.
not the reference
So
I
look,
made. That's not.
just look. I know.
Psycho, do you
Okay.
understand what this
So
means?
just
That
look.
means
Just
that,
Manar,
hey,
Manar,
Cartesian,
wait.
let me just explain, and then
Manar.
you tell me if I'm wrong,
No,
okay?
wait, no,
so
no,
so I
no,
can
no,
look dumb
Manar,
again.
Wait, Manar, no, it's not going to happen. Okay, look, so we have a conditional, not Q, not U implies not P, and
I
we're
don't
setting
have to
that we
infer
say that
from that U
implies
is P.
that
I don't have
implies
to.
U implies P.
I don't have to imply
right?
U is P.
And as we see, it's
I don't have
invalid,
to.
and we have
That's
a
your
counter,
argument.
the counter
That's
model.
not my argument.
The counter model is where U is true, and P is false. So when U is true and P is false, right? That's a counter model.
This is such a bad
right,
logic
to the
calculator.
inference.
This is
So
trash.
we've shown you
This doesn't
via
show
the
me that
theorem
I'm wrong at
prover.
all.
We've shown you it's not valid. So can you said if we showed you it, you would concede your.
So what you're saying is my claim that dogs can be pet is wrong. That's what you're saying?
You just blame the logic calculator?
According to the logic calculator guy, everyone in the room, my claim that dogs can be pet if they do exist, then is wrong. His claim
You
that
think you can type
dogs
the claim
cannot
that
be
dogs
pet
can
if
be
they
pet
don't
you
exist
think
is
you can put that in
right,
a
but my
logic
claim that
calculator?
dogs can be pet if they existed is wrong. That's what he's saying. He's trying to manipulate the logic calculator, but that's not how
That doesn't
I
necessarily
presented it.
follow
I
from
presented it as my
existence.
counter argument. I didn't present it as an inference argument. He tried to force it that it's an inference argument.
No, that's not what he's saying.
He's forcing it upon it, is that it's an implication argument. I'm not. I don't have to imply anything.
I was
He
not.
made an observation and I made an observation. Both of us have to actually prove that observation. They don't infer one another. So he's such shit at logic. Where did he run to?
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, my internet cut out. So, now we showed you in the theorem prover that you were wrong. Okay.
Bro,
We showed
but
that
that's not my inference.
there's a counter model
That's
to
not
the
my
inference
implication
when
argument.
U is true.
That's not my
and,
argument. That's the argument you
when U is
created.
true and P is false. Right. That's the counter model to the
This is
inference.
so horrible.
Okay.
Cartesian
So
just
we've
keeps
shown
going
the
on a
inference
loop,
is not
guys.
valid. Now
Just
you
keeps going
said
on a loop.
that
It's
if
like
we were
a
to show you
recorder.
via theorem prover that the inference is invalid, you would concede you're wrong.
You're just gonna keep going on a
So
loop?
can you please concede that you're wrong?
No, because that's not my argument. So you're telling me there's no dogs that
no,
can be
but
pet?
Manar, but that wasn't the quite Manar. You said if we showed
That's my
you.
argument, though.
if we
You made an
you said if
you
we
made
showed
an
you
implication argument, and I
that
made
it
an
didn't
implication
follow from
argument.
not
I didn't
P
infer
implies.
anything
Sorry,
from
you
yours.
said if we showed you it didn't follow from not U implies not P.
I made a counter
that U
argument to
implies
your
P. That you'd concede you were wrong. You said that.
I will never concede that I'm wrong because you're a failure at
But you
logic.
said,
and you don't know how to debate.
but now you're going back on
You
what
don't
you
know how to
said.
debate. Hey,
You said you
Cartesian,
would concede if you were
because
wrong.
if that
You
was
said
the
you would
argument I
concede
made,
you
then
were
you're
wrong
right.
if we
If
showed
that was
you
the
it.
argument I made, then you're right. But that's not my argument I
no,
made. The
hold on.
argument I made was a counter argument that if dogs do exist, then you
so
have to pet them.
So you agree that it doesn't follow
So
from
both
not
of us
U
have to
implies
come and
not
prove
P,
our implication
that U
arguments.
implies
They don't
P.
infer one another from that.
Do you agree that it doesn't follow from not U implies not P, that U implies P?
Sure. Yeah, according to your logic calculator, yeah.
Fine.
Our logic calculator.
I mean, you're the
Okay,
one that made
finally.
this argument, not me. I didn't make the argument.
So he's conceded on
So
what
we
he
don't
said.
even need to.
Do you
I
have
don't know why
anything
we're
else you
debating
want
the
to say?
argument.
Okay, so I think we've gotten everything out of the way. So if somebody else wants to talk to him, somebody else can. But I think I got.
So all he
everything I
got,
wanted to get.
guys. Okay, let me guys explain to you what he got. Okay, so Cartesian came debated me for an hour now, and all he got was that.
And all this can
first of all,
garbage can just be muted on the
morality-
live, of course, or taken out.
Objective morality. Finally understood what objective morality is, which is basically the guide, the scriptures that people follow. Then when he understood that, then he started introducing counter arguments. Like, well, if there's no scripture, shouldn't that mean that you shouldn't follow the scripture? And I was like, sure, but I will give you a counter argument. If the scriptures do exist, according to your logic, then you would also have to follow the scriptures, right? And then he started, the only way he could defeat me, because he cannot play this game, because he's such a loser at debates and making arguments, is he had to make his own inference argument that based on what I said, that means that if, because unicorns don't exist, and I cannot pet them, therefore, or let me give it through my example. If scripture don't exist, so I cannot follow them, therefore, Manar was trying to say that scriptures if do exist, then they could follow them. And all I want to do is I want him to write that down in the real world. I want him to not write it down in a logical calculator. I want him to write it down using the example of the scripture, or actually the unicorn and the actual, not a true and a false statement, because that's how he wrote it down, that U is a true and P is a false. No, I want him to write it down as both are false and both are positive, and let's see if that actually follows from that. Because he can't even write down my argument. So you guys are telling me that my logic is flawed, that if dogs do exist, that you could pet them. So if unicorns, he's right. He's right. If unicorns don't exist, you cannot pet them. He's right. But are you going to say that if unicorns did exist, you couldn't pet them as well? That's my whole argument. I'm not making an implication argument. He forced that upon me.
Yeah, it's obviously this is fine because like all this gibberish he's spewing can just be cut out, like because it's like after everything. But like I want to see if like anybody else here wants to talk to him and like destroy him on something else.
So you
guys
like
destroyed me. Together.
You guys destroyed me because dogs cannot be pet because they don't. If they
like somebody can explain like the metaethics stuff to him or something. Like embarrass him again.
You're right, guys. Nice.
No one can get me.
Manar, do you think you did well in this debate, Manar?
100%. I mean, you guys didn't even argue at all.
Hey, I
couldn't even dive into my argument, and I still embarrassed Cartesian. I mean, he actually thinks he had a good argument here. This is ridiculous. This is crazy. This is insane. You actually believe Cartesian made a good argument? His whole argument is he forced an implication upon me based on unicorns don't exist and scripture don't exist. But he won't actually concede that if they did exist, then he would have to follow them as well, and he would have to agree that they would be something that you could pet. So this is ridiculous. This is so ridiculous. I can't believe you guys actually believe you want anything. This is insane.
Okay,
well, Manar, we
have a poll in chat. Let's why don't
you did well too, right?
This is crazy.
Wait, hold on. Let's get this poll in chat. Let's get these responses going.
That's amazing.
No way. Manar voted for Manar. I thought Manar was going to vote for Mason.
I think Manar did really well. I think Cartesian was outclassed, and his proof he doesn't know anything about logic or metaethics.
Wait, Nightclot. Who won?
I don't know. I just came in and I heard this. I'm looking at the truth tree. Did Manar say something to the effect that if something is the negation of the antecedent implies the negation of the consequent, therefore the antecedent being true implies that the consequent is true?
He was saying that, but he walked that claim back.
Okay.
No,
well, obviously. Wait, Nightclot. Wait, hold on.
That's not how it came out. It came out as an example.
Nightclot. So, the context is Manar's claim was you need objective morality to be moral. Then we figured out what he meant by objective morality was commands from like an all-knowing aspatial atemporal being. And by being moral, he meant following the commands of an aspatial atemporal all-knowing being. So in order to follow the commands of an aspatial atemporal all-knowing being, there has to be commands from an atemporal aspatial all-knowing being. And we were just trying to get him to concede that that's a trivially true statement in the same way. In the same way that the statement in order to follow commands from my grandma, there has to be commands from my grandma is trivially true or something like that.
No, because
but
my
I don't
argument...
think he ever understood that.
Was that what you were saying, Manar?
No, my argument was forcing a new definition, which is objective
Yeah, that's
entity.
What he said.
It doesn't, because if you would follow another subjective entity, then of course you're going to stay immoral. But if you would follow
it's on the recording of him saying, of him defining the terms that way.
Yeah, but you misrepresented my argument because your example doesn't suffice my argument. Just grandma. Of course, if you're following your grandma's commandment, then you're wrong. But if you're following an objective entity's commandment, an objective entity that has the full picture, because it's not a subjective entity, then you're good.
The interesting part of
all you have to do is prove that your grandma is an objective entity.
Are you done talking? Should I just wait until
somebody has to explain to him what moral interrelation is and all this stuff now? But go ahead, Dave.
And then you're
wait a minute. But also,
Yeah, but-
this grandmother is an objective entity in the sense that she is an actual object out there. She's a subject as well, but she is actually
but by objective entity he means someone who's all knowing and all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
He has to prove that she's an
Yeah.
objective entity. You haven't proven your grandma's an objective entity.
Okay, but
Well,
the point of the
It's still a valid
the point, look,
demonstration.
But if
look,
you
the
cannot
point of-
demonstrate
look,
she's
hold on.
objective-
He doesn't understand. The point of the substitution isn't that the grandma is also an objective entity. The point is just saying, in order to follow something, that thing has to exist, right?
But my whole argument is if subjective entity follows
It doesn't matter. It
itself-
doesn't matter whether it's a subjective entity or an objective entity. The whole point is that it's just trivially true to say, in order to interact with something, it has to exist.
What do you mean? Why is that trivially true?
Because if it doesn't exist, you can't
Oh,
interact
wow.
with it.
Well, no, the idea is if something gives you commands, then it must exist to give you commands.
Yeah, how can you follow commands if the commands don't exist?
Okay, so why is that trivially true?
Well, the question I think they want to ask is why does a all-knowing,
a commander
all-powerful
to follow
deity
commands?
institute commands that
Yeah,
somehow
there has to be a commander to
non-morally-
follow
yeah.
the commands.
Okay, so
I think the
why is
question
that
there-
trivially true?
What do you think trivially true means?
What is okay? Define it.
What do you think it means? What do you think? it
It's
means?
logically required.
It's a redundant
Something,
statement.
anything
I would
informative.
say.
It's not adding
Yes.
anything informative.
Yeah, a redundant
Yeah.
statement. So how is that? How me introducing an objective entity to solve the dilemma of that humans are going to be
No, you're not.
immoral
No,
forever?
no.
Trivially
No,
true.
saying. No, look.
Do you see how they misrepresented my whole argument? You guys are arguing a straw man.
They're talking about a part of your argument.
But
Yeah,
you
but
understand-
we're
when I
saying-
say
Can anyone
I
repeat my
follow-
argument? Can
Hold on,
anyone
hold on,
repeat my
wait.
argument clearly, and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong?
Saying that there has to be a command giver in order to follow commands does not go any distance in showing that a command giver exists or that
Yeah,
it solves
because
some
that's
sort
not
of
my
dilemma.
that's not my that's not the whole point of my argument. My whole point of the argument is to introduce to you guys that there's a fallacy here, that there's humans are going to be immoral if they're going to follow subjective entity.
Let's
And I
just
wanted
wrap this up,
Cartesian.
please. Let's
Just
not
5 more seconds, please, without
go
interruption.
Yeah, but you're just
And I just wanted
equivocating
Cartesian
on a
to
moral.
introduce a theory, and he never introduced a theory for how humans are going to be immoral, moral. So I introduced a theory. I said maybe there's an objective entity. You guys destroyed it, and I agreed with you. Sure, yeah, you destroyed, but not one time did anyone introduce a counter theory to how humans are going to be moral with guiding themselves.
Wait,
by
Minar,
other subjective entity
I-
guiding them. No one ever
I just-
introduced any counter theory.
I just want to
You
make
just
sure.
agreed
we're
that
clear.
humans
So-
are going to be immoral forever. That's why you guys agreed.
Wait,
At
wait,
least
Minar,
what
I
I did
just
was
want
I
to be.
introduced.
Wait,
You guys
Minar,
can.
wait,
Let me
Minar, I just
explain
want
what's
to be
happening
clear.
here,
By
Davey.
moral, I
Let
just
me
want to make
explain,
sure
Davey. Let me
because you keep
explain.
using the terms.
Make it lol. You
Wait,
can
wait, wait,
destroy
wait,
my
wait, wait.
objective morality
Wait,
argument.
no,
I'm
I'm
not
not destroying
attached to it.
anything. I
I'm
just
not
wanna ask a
attached to the
question.
objective morality argument.
Can I just ask a
I
question
just
about the terms
introduced it
you're
as a
using?
solution to the dilemma, but you never
ask about the
introduced a
terms you're
counter
using?
argument.
Can I ask about the terms you're
I
using?
was
When you use
always
the
okay
word
with you
moral-
guys destroying the objective morality argument. That was never part of the debate. The whole debate is how can humans ever be moral? I introduced an objective morality theory. What is your theory then? You're gonna have to concede that humans are immoral forever. That's the real argument, not this shit Cartesian implication argument that's fucking trash Cartesians make.
Wait, Minar, by moral you mean following the commands of an all-knowing, aspatial, atemporal being.
What do you mean by moral? I'll play your game. What is your moral? What does moral mean to you?
Can you just answer the question?
Sure, yeah, you're right.
Okay, so you're asking us to introduce a theory as to how humans could follow the commands of an all-knowing, aspatial, atemporal being?
How can you follow laws without it being written down?
Why are you answering questions with questions?
I'm asking you, like, why is it crazy to you to understand that something could be written down for you to follow? What do you mean? And that all
can
I
you
have
just
to
answer
do
the
is prove
question?
that the objective entity has to exist, and I can because you can. There's
Can you
nothing
just answer
sufficient
the
you can give
question?
me. There's nothing I can prove it scientifically. I can prove it logically. There's nothing. Nothing sufficient that you have given me, other than that humans are going to be immoral forever because they're going to follow.
Yeah,
their
Manar,
subjective-
I have a question for you.
Wrap it
In
up,
your
Davey.
in your concept of God, does he have the free will to institute whatever moral commands he wants to?
Sure, absolutely. Whatever he believes is more. If he believes that you Adam and Eve can have kids and then they can be with each other's kids, the sister and the brother can be with each other, so they can create all of humanity and implement, the seeds of all of Earth, and then at some point he stops and create a new commandment that you cannot do that. Instead, you have to get a little bit further, like a cousin or something else. Then yeah, I would 100, yeah, something like that. Yes.
So God's commands can be arbitrary.
No, they are just like morality. It's ever evolution based on why morality. You have to understand, guys. The way I define morality is how to create a successful society. So anything moral is linked to a successful society and individuals of the society, and anything immoral is linked to badness to society and badness to individuals. So of course, morality is going to change on the number of society and how many people are in the society, and if the society is being threatened to die, exactly like how you have self-defense being a normal
Is
thing.
anyone gonna explain like moral imperialism and all this other stuff?
Murder is always bad unless it's self-defense, right? So something like that. So always morality is always ever evolving. You understand? Like it depends on your success in the life. So it's always nuanced. It's always switching. But in the end, as long as you follow this guide and it's in a book, then you should be moral, and that's all you have to do. That's what the religious people will tell you. At least that's the argument I'm making.
Yeah, but what I asked you is that does God have the free will to institute whatever commands he wants to? And does he also have the ability to institute one command and then the opposite command?
I mean, no, it's not as easy as that. Their commandments are not, like, for example, sex was always an immorality. It doesn't matter from the beginning of Adam till the end. It was just it's always regulated, and all it is was lifted regulation. So at the time of Adam, regulations were lifted, so you could have sex with the same with your sister, but from different sacks. From the different sacks. So they were twins, so you're not allowed to be with your twin. You're allowed to be with the other twin. Yeah, with your other, like, basically, Eve had two twins, both.
No, my question is.
That's what I'm giving you. I'm giving you is but the idea is sex was always immoral. It was always an immorality. Cain was always wrong for being with his real sister, if he would ever to be with his real sister all the time. God never contradicted that.
Okay, so no, my point basically is this. So the idea of divine command theory, the problem is it tends to be subjective, and God can kind of willy-nilly choose whatever he wants to. The idea of morality is you want these moral truths, if they do come from God or some sort of divine mind,
so you agree,
to be necessary. They can't be anything else but that.
So you agree there's a moral standard to the universe. You agree with that? And how would you follow? How would you find and follow that moral standard? That's the whole question.
Actually, as far as I would kind of now go a little bit more Nietzschean in morality, I think ultimately it has to do with the way that we interact in the world. So we as humans experience the world in a certain way. We experience resistances that are overcome. And then there's going to be certain moralities that are generated from that.
Nice.
So it's relative to the world. So you're going to have certain virtues relative to how we exist in the world.
Do you agree?
And
do you agree that there's possibility you could make an error? You could appear to be moral and make decisions that appear to be moral, and then they are totally immoral. For example, I'll give you an example, like slavery, or like the Roman Empire rewarding every woman after war, so that the army doesn't grow back, and so that all the kids are Roman. They don't have allegiance to any of their fathers or grandfathers or traditions anymore. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, is it possible that it appears to you that you're doing the immoral thing as a subjective entity because you're not following that actual moral standard? You're still trying to come up with it throughout all of history. And then it's possible that you were immoral the whole time, Nick Lott. So do you agree with me that your theory opens you up to being completely immoral all the time?
Well, I guess the question is that for
it just
you, your
appears
system.
to you to be
Hold on. The idea is this: that when I kind of understand morality, I understand myself as how I relate to the world and how I experience the world, and also certain sets of emotions that I have. So I'm going to understand that I experience both fear and confidence in relation to that fear is going to create courage. So it's going to be from actual lived experience. I'm going to understand certain experiences I've also have the experience of pleasure and pain, and I'm going to say that, for example, I do not want to kind of take excessive pleasure if it's going to cause me problems. That's where you would get things like temperance. Someone doesn't want to eat excessive amounts to get fat to cause them ill health.
Yeah,
so
but
this is how I'm going to understand morality. I mean, my question is, this kind of morality is understood just by how we interact with the world.
Yeah, but not everyone is as reasonable as you. Do you agree?
I think it was just
I
going
think
virtue
it's the other
moral
way
theory. I
around.
mean, the question is, you have like your view seems to be more just
Like
divine
sometimes
command.
it's hard.
God
Like
just
for
says
example,
this is the case.
it's possible for me to tell somebody, hey, robbing is wrong, but that they're so hungry, they're not like you, Nicola. Maybe to you, you're right, robbing is really bad. But that they're so hungry that to them they justify robbing. Is that true? Is that possible? Is that something? So even though that you could act like, oh, morals are just evolved within humanity, is it true that your consequences, your or your what's happening in your life, your environment, other social conditioning, other outside variables can affect your decision making when it comes to morality, and you could be completely immoral? Do you agree with me? That's why it's so necessary to already have that moral standard written down, already have it subjugated into all of humanity. And they try to do that with laws. You see that all the time with every country tries to like infer a moral standard to all of their humans within that country. They tell them, hey, you're not allowed to take off your clothes and walk around naked, or you will put you in jail. Hey, if you do this to any children, we do this to you. Hey, if you commit
Hold on,
anything to young people-
Minar. I know, but let's not kind of ramble on this. So let's kind of go.
All
into
I'm
this
saying
for a
is,
second. And let me-
no,
I know, but hold on.
Even countries use moral standards.
Okay, I know. Hold on.
Nightclot, he's very sensitive. So if you say he starts rambling, then he'll start over talking you. So you can't do that.
Yeah. Okay,
No,
that's
go ahead.
Minar,
I'm sorry.
Minar, okay, let's relax. So the way that I kind of have more of a virtue moral theory, and it's the examples that I gave. So we as humans have certain things about us. We have rationality, we have health, we have a body. And so the idea is we want to kind of have an excellence of this. And so also there's certain spheres of activity. As I said, we experience fear and confidence. We're going to reflect on the necessary amount of confidence in relation to that fear. That's where courage is going to come from. We're also going to have things like the experience of pleasure and pain, as I said, and the amount of, gauging that as well. We want to understand pleasure in an appropriate way. We don't want an excessive amount of that because that might then cause us pain. People who are diabetic, when they eat too much, for example, that's where we'll get things like, temperance. So this idea of morality is based upon our actual rooted lived experience in the world, understanding certain emotions and spheres of activity, and then reflecting upon that and knowing the correct action based on that.
Okay, cool. But you agree with me, you could still be immoral. Or you could do something that appears to be moral, and then maybe another secular country could look at you as immoral. For example, in America, they don't allow, it's completely illegal to commit self-assisted suicide, direct self-assisted suicide in a hospital. It's completely illegal. Completely illegal.
Okay, so what are...
But in Canada, another secular country, completely allows.
This
So
is irrelevant to the
my question
point.
here. No. Can you let me finish? My question in here is, which one of them is moral? Go ahead. Which country is moral? The one that allows self-assisted suicide directly in their hospitals, or the one that doesn't? Go ahead. You see how even secular countries disagree with one another on what's morality?
Okay, so here's the thing about this. Obviously, when it comes to ethics, it's not going to be as precise as other disciplines are. So for the example I gave you as far as courage, it can't be quantified and in a very exact way. You have X amount of confidence in relation to X amount of fear, and this is what makes things courageous. Obviously, it's going to be relative to the situation and relative to the person. To use the example that's given amongst the Greeks, the Athenian soldier is expected to have more confidence in relation to fear than the little girl does. So what's courageous for the little girl is going to be cowardly for the Athenian soldier, and what's courageous for the Athenian soldier is going to be foolhardy for the little girl. But that's the idea. People are kind of reflecting on this and trying to kind of calibrate to get what that golden mean is, what that appropriate amount is. And it's going to be expected that there's going to be differences in societies. Absolutely. But I don't know, what's the point are you trying to get at? Because of the fact that you can't have that exact degree of precision that everyone's immoral?
Yeah, exactly. But Nicolot, you would have to at least force upon everybody to follow moral standards, right?
No, I don't get this. So, okay, here's the point. So, are you saying because
Why is this
of
hard
the
for
fact...
you to get? Laws, for
hold
example.
on. Hold on. No, do the example I gave. So, are you saying because of the fact that we cannot have that exactness, like for example, when I said
this is a vegan
little girl, what's the appropriate amount of confidence in relation to fear? Because you can't get, or we can't get that degree of precision that we could get in something like logic.
And they want to talk
that
morality,
ultimately everything is, immoral, or you have this like error theory.
I'm not understanding. Like, I'm not understanding what's the argument. Like, what do you want me to respond to?
I'm trying to make, okay, so what I'm asking you, are you saying because when humans reflect upon things, because we're not kind of all knowing, all perfect or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So
yeah.
obviously people are going to have differences in the amount of confidence in relation to fear.
Yeah. All
Are you
throughout
just going to
history.
throw that away and are you going to throw that away and say,
no,
humans can't be
Nicolás.
immoral because of that?
Do you agree that you appear to be moral throughout all of your history, and then turns out when other people studied your history, like, holy shit, this is why this guy was the most immoral human being ever? Can you tell me why did that happen? Is it possible because you are a subjective entity following your subjective entity whims and desires, or other subjective entities whims and desires, and it was completely flawed and didn't have the full picture and wasn't clear and actually made you look and appear to be moral, and turns out you're completely immoral? Why does that happen?
Okay, I wouldn't say it's immoral makes you completely immoral. I think personally there's a different way to kind of explain what you're talking about. Basically, I would say that that's not... Okay, the way that I would explain what you're talking about, I would understand this more in a Hobbesian sense. So the reality of the situation, Manar, is that earlier times in human history, we're going to definitely be much more violent. Why are we going to be more violent? Because of the fact that when you do not have a stable society, the idea, to use Hobbes, the natural inequalities overtake the natural equalities, which basically
Nicolás,
means
but
the
you have to
natural...
agree.
Hold on. Let me explain what I'm talking about. The natural inequalities of the human are the fact that some people are... Hold on. Some people are stronger and more skillful. The natural equalities are that we can all be killed by a bullet. So it makes sense that as history progresses, basically, as it kind of, develops, the natural equalities that we have overtake the natural inequalities. So basically meaning we can all be killed by a bullet. So you're going to have social contracts that come about that are more rights-based. That's basically it. So that's how they're going to kind of explain that.
You're forcing the assertion upon us. You're forcing that, for example, humanity is not belligerent and vicious and animalistic till now. Do you not agree? Till now there's warfare. Till now there's... you're trying to act like we're in such a modern society and we're sophisticated. At all moments of all of history,
no, that's not what I said.
We have warfare.
No, that's not what I said. What I said specifically, it makes sense as to why the progression of rights you're talking about. And I said specifically, as history develops and his history progresses, and as, for example, weapons go from cold weapons to warm weapons, and you tend to have things that are very structured, it makes sense that if you think about that in that sense, the natural equalities, the fact that we can all be killed by a bullet, gun, or whatever, is going to
I would argue that the modern...
Hold on.
Modernity is more vicious. I would argue modern warfare has created much more victims than old warfare.
That's not my point. Okay, let me explain this to you. Okay,
what is
so
your
you're
point?
talking about why people think that slavery and all this stuff is immoral now, and I'm trying to explain to you why certain people have the idea that certain things are immoral now when they thought it wasn't immoral back 1,000 years ago.
Go ahead.
And I said the reason for that is in prior times in human history, the natural inequalities were a little bit more significant. Basically meaning stronger, more skillful people can exert themselves on others without fear of a consequence that something bad's going to happen to them. They'll take that risk. Think of, like, let's say 1,200 years ago or so, the Viking invader is not going to be as concerned about the consequences of him attacking. He'll basically say, bring it on. So he's going to view his natural inequalities, his strength and his skill, as a much bigger factor. And so he's going to go out and plunder and raid. Now, as history develops, well, guess what? The natural equalities, the fact that we can all be killed by a bullet, seem to take a greater precedence.
Is that true?
And
is it not that the mafia boss that owns the police force and has them in their back pocket has the best deals, and he can actually, for example, force businesses out of existing and in his area, or his competitors to disappear? Are you kidding me? Do you not agree that till now there's a lot of injustices and inequalities when it comes to these moral values and standards and how you would implement them?
Okay, so let me explain something. So let's look at this. Would you not agree that as society and history develops and things get a lot more structured, the natural equalities overtake the natural inequalities? And the way to look at that is something like this. Obviously, with hot weapons, like let's say ones that use combustion, this is an equalizer. A gun is an equalizer relative to a sword. So when you're talking about 1,000 years ago or so, you're probably going to have a morality which is a little bit more of what like Nietzsche. Hold on, let me explain. You're probably going to have a morality more of what Nietzsche would call a master morality among certain people, because they feel they can exert themselves. Well, I'm doing ab exercise. When you're doing basically a kettlebell snatch, your abs have to compress. Baby Blue, don't be silly. Oh, she's not even in here. Okay, that's it. But the point basically would be, if you're 1,000 years ago or so, and you're in these types of societies, what happens is you're going to have something more like a master morality for these people, because they feel that they're strong and they can act upon the world. So they're going to have a morality that kind of privileges their strength and their power. But it does make sense as history progresses, you're going to have more what like Nietzsche would call a slave morality, because everybody in some sense feels that there can be harmed.
Hopefully.
Feel an extreme sense of dependency or harm about what society or the police force can do to you.
Nicola, wouldn't you agree that right now there's more inequality than ever because of your actual argument, the gun? So basically, a man with a gun and a man with no gun, which one is going to win 100% of the time to 99.999% of the time? Do you see how there's actually in modernity more inequality? You've created more inequality. That means you have to understand, because
you're not listening. You're not dealing with my point, Manar. You're not dealing with my point.
Because
Okay, hold on. Here, let me kind of explain this.
I think you're misseeing it.
No. You're not getting it. Okay, so let's kind of understand this. Do you get the point I made, number one, of natural inequalities versus natural equalities? The natural inequality of someone's strength and skill.
But
okay,
you're
the natural
claiming that in modernity it went down.
Stop. Let's go to this. Okay, please.
Okay. I just said your claim is that they went down.
Okay, stop.
Hold on.
Stop.
You do not get to act like an asshole and tell him to stop when you cut him off.
Okay. Because he's not dealing with my point. I'm trying to go on with this.
That's fine. You can say that after he's done speaking. That doesn't give you a right to cut him off.
Okay. Then if I feel that I cannot, if I don't feel that he's engaging with me, then that's the case, and I'll probably just end the conversation.
No,
Nick, I'm trying to do that. Okay, that's it. If I don't feel that I'm being engaged with, I'm doing this to stop so we can kind of help this. Okay, then.
I misunderstood. I was just trying to explain.
Okay, great. So let's kind of go into this. So do you know, first of all, what I mean by a natural inequality?
Sure, it occurs all basically everything. I'll give you an example, like height. Everything all the time. There's natural inequality all the time for every human being. Yes.
Okay, some people are stronger and more skillful than others.
Everything. Yes, all the time. Everything all the time. Yes.
Okay, so what is a natural equality?
That it could appear that they're at a certain level, but all the time, every day that change moves forward because future exists. There's a potential that that doesn't happen anymore. Do you understand that natural equality is almost impossible? That's what I'm trying to show you.
Okay, so you don't understand the point of natural equality as I was saying it from the Hobbesian sense. A natural equality is just specifically meaning we can all be killed by a bullet. So we're all vulnerable. That's it. That's all it means. Okay. So this is where the point. So let's go into that.
What's a natural inequality then?
The fact that some people are more skillful and stronger than others. That's it.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, we can see you talked about why slavery is seen ultimately as immoral as society progresses. My explanation for that is more in this Hobbesian sense, that when society is existing 1,000 years ago or so, or 2,000 years ago or so, first of all, we don't have the structure that we do now. We also don't have the weaponry that we do now. And I think what happens in those types of situations is that the natural inequalities tend to overtake the natural equalities, are more significant for society. Okay, do you understand that part so far?
Sure, the natural inequalities will take over. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
My whole argument is till now. Yeah, but go ahead.
Okay. So I think in those types of societies, you're going to have more of what kind of Nietzsche would call a master morality, more of this thymotic-driven morality. We can kind of look at the Homeric Greeks. You can also look at kind of Scandinavian society as well during the Vikings. They're going to kind of privilege certain moral concepts over another. They're going to see things like strength, valor, bravery, and honor over other ones, more less so kind of fear, pity, and compassion. That would be the idea. So what I'm saying is basically, now let's kind of fast forward to the 20th century or so. You have a much more stable society. You also have a society in which now people have much more sophisticated weaponry than what they had 1,000 years ago or so, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So basically what this does is we experience ourselves as very vulnerable, this vulnerability. It's like, you know what? The idea is that if I feel that I can attack this person, it opens the door for this person attacking me. This vulnerability makes me feel that I want to create a social contract of some sort in which I have rights. So these rights, and this is where things like slavery would cease to exist as well. So more or less, just think of a rights-driven society comes from the fact, in this Hobbesian sense, that the natural equalities overtake the natural inequalities, and what happens is that you're going to have people experience themselves as being vulnerable. This vulnerability is going to be the precondition for creating more of a rights-based society. That's it.
So the only thing I want to kind of understand from this is that vulnerability level has changed from in the modern view than from the traditional view. For example, the 2,000-year-old people, they didn't experience the same level of vulnerability. Maybe they just didn't have the considered avenues to pull them off, like the bullets. But do you not believe that do you believe that they didn't experience those vulnerabilities? And like, what I'm trying to understand is, is there a distinct change? Because I think that's the full argument here, is that the vulnerabilities in modernity is exasperated, is increased, and so they had to force rights and laws. My question is that not what all of history all the time entailed? And how different is it now in modernity? What's the difference in percentage?
Well, think of it like this. If you are living in, let's say, the Viking lands, or let's just take part of the Slavic group. If you are a Palabian Slav and it is the year 1000 AD and you're living in the island of Ruyan, you experience yourself in such a way that you're like, okay, my natural skill, this is the factor. I go out to plunder, I go out to raid. I'm less concerned about people doing this to me because I less fear about the sword coming at me because I think that my natural skill and strength is a bigger factor in this. Okay. So then a certain morality is going to generate from that. Sure. Reality of the situation, as history develops, that sort of natural skill or these natural inequalities as far as the skill and strength a person has is much less of a factor. The natural equalities, which are their vulnerabilities, are a much bigger factor. And I think that's a reason as to why people have the moral system that they do.
Okay, but my whole argument is it hasn't changed that much. You will still see mafia bosses. You still see pirates in the sea. You still see people using that inequality, trying to take advantage of people's inequality, trying to capture somebody with no gun when they have a gun, trying to find somebody with no knife when they have a knife, and all the time trying to use that inequality. So my whole argument would be that this always existed. It will always exist for all of history. No matter what law you force upon anyone, it will always exist. And that, but at least I think, you're gonna agree with me, right, Nicola? It's always gonna exist. So let's try to get to this point. Like, how do we come up with the best moral standard to teach people and to tell them, to try to actually guide them the best way? How do you come up with that?
Well, I'm not going to go into that part. I'm just going to go to the other part that you made. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be some degree of violence, and some people are going to find it kind of beneficial on their part to use that violence. But the reality of the situation is that historically, you definitely see a pacification of humans relative to what it was
Nicola,
1,000 years ago. So that's obviously the case. Obviously, society is much less violent now than it was 1,000 years ago or so.
I think that you are painting too broad a brush in effectively arguing that there's a linear progression of development when that just isn't borne out historically. There are all kinds of examples of societies in which things oscillated between being moral or immoral. If we want to take the Palavi example you used, those same people living in the same place maybe 500 years later after Christianization now were extremely fearful of raids. They were opposed to slavery. They did have entirely different moral systems. But if we move another 500 years into the future, now they're engaged in ultra-violent wars of the 19th century and 20th century, wars of nationalism, First World War, etc. So the same people live there. their moral systems oscillated between what they viewed as moral and immoral, what level of violence was acceptable in their society. But it was not a linear progression of more violence to less violence, because history is not a linear progression between 2 points. You're oversimplifying in order to make a philosophical point, which is nice and neat for philosophical purposes, but it isn't borne out historically by how human societies have actually existed.
It's okay, but we're all basically.
Oh no,
all
no, hold on.
agreeing.
Hold on, Minar. I'd like to comment on this point. You addressed me. Okay, just relax. Okay, thank you. The point is that you're talking about an increase in political violence in kind of the 20th century. I would agree with you on that as far as that's concerned. I'm talking more about kind of the society itself. I definitely see a progression of, if you do look at society, I think in some sense, you see a progression of from what Nietzsche would call master morality to slave morality, and also what Kojève would talk about this museum-type history where thymos gets ended. I think clearly that you can see that. That is definitely the case.
But like, let's look on the scale of like this Northern European example.
I want to get out of this.
I would argue that the societies of the 1300s were significantly less violent than the societies of the 1500s. On a full, not just a political level, on a full level, right? Like we have a transition from a basic Catholic social order into the 30 Years' War and wars of religion in northern Germany, where there was intense violence, not only on a political warfare scale, but like sectarian violence between individual groups of just normal people, not soldiers, not armies, etc. And then we can see a moderation again, and then we can see a return to the same kind of violence, I would argue, with the First World War, where we have nationalism and other sectarian factors, where there absolutely was society-wide support for the industrial slaughter of millions of people. I would argue that that is a very violent society, and it's not indicative of a decreasing level of violence over time, but of different periods of what is seen as acceptable violence.
Okay. I mean, obviously there's going to be political violence in wars. I'm not denying that. What I'm basically stating is that certain types of morality that would exist 2,000 years ago or so are going to find a harder place to exist in modern society. So the morality of the Homeric Greek, which is highly thymotic driven, requires a type of society that exists back then. It's hard to have that in a very industrialized, civilized society that we have now, especially based upon the type of weapons we have. It's going to be much harder to have that kind of honor.
The only reason you say that is because I misunderstood when he said it implies that my argument of P therefore Q implies from his argument negative P therefore negative Q. That's the only misstep that I at all said, that I agreed to that, because it doesn't imply from that. It's my own argument. So it's crazy that I agreed to that. And you're going to say that I misread all of logic? Okay, go.
And we definitely do not observe a linear decline.
Nice one, Greg. You got me.
Societies to contemporary. You might be at a low point.
And by the way, Greg, remember...
No, but I actually do believe this Hobbesian point that I'm making. I obviously do believe as history progresses, the whole point I'm making,
get to my argument
people perceive...
of more morality. We didn't even get there, because Cartesian is a low, slimy...
One of the major reasons that you would go from what Nietzsche would call master morality to slave morality. I absolutely think that's the case.
Like I said, you might think that that's the case, but I'm arguing that it isn't borne out by the historical reality.
Really?
I'm approaching this from the history perspective.
Okay, so you're telling me that you would not see a decline in that concept of glory and honor that would exist in more of the ancient medieval societies to the modern ones?
I think that you could map a decline from that point in time to the contemporary point of time. I don't think that you can map a linear decline or a pattern of decline. I don't think it's a necessary condition of society. I think that it's shaped by a lot of different factors, and those factors change. So I can absolutely believe that that level of honor and societal violence and those conceptions of honor could be reintroduced into different societal conceptions around the globe in the future. I don't think that it's a linear downwards trend, is what I'm arguing.
No, I think you would have to have a different society. You would have to have a complete... Okay, so to have that, I think, number one, you would need to have cold weapons again. I think one of the things that has that honor-based society, I think cold weapons are definitely going to have to be something which is a much bigger fact.
Greg, because I don't need to defend it. I need him to give me a counter-argument. He needs to give a counter-argument. I don't have to defend anything. He needs to give a counter-argument. He needs to give a counter-argument, man. Man. Okay, get one moment. I have to leave soon. Fuck. Maybe.
Has increased rather than decreased, actually, especially with the advent of social media. It's just built around a guilt society rather than a pride-based society. Like those of Viking culture.
But that's the point. It goes from an honor-based society to a guilt-based society. That's the idea.
But honor, that,
It's
Lucas,
an
that
irreversible-
But I mean, we could define it with one.
The idea is it's honorable to be.
Okay, so this is the point. Let's not quibble over terms. It's known that specifically when I was using the term honor, I'm using that honor that's understood more in those honor-based societies, not it's honorable to be guilty. So we can shift the terms all we want. It's known that that was specifically meant. My intention was the kind of glory or honor that you would see in the Homeric Greeks or the kind of Vikings. That's the idea. I think I was very specific about that. If we just switch the definition of terms and understand it in a completely different way, I mean, okay, I can basically, define, I can say, look, here's a cow outside and there's a pig, and I can just change the names of them and say now there's,
عم اعمل ستريم وفي كتير ناس بتطلعوا علي هلا. طب اسمعي تجوا
ما هاجي خلص رايحين نحن على البيت. يلا السلام عليكم حبيبي. نشوفك ان شاء الله بركي بكره. وبعد
ايه ماشي. ماشي هلا بحكيكي نص ساعة بركي بفضى انا رح افضى شكلي هلا رح افضي حالي. يلا سلام. يا الله.
And guilt are fine. But if we want to look at your specific claim, which is that it's a result of cold weapons, that cold weapons lead to an honor-based society, I just think that you're being like very Anglo-centric.
Exactly.
Because if we look at like 17th century Japan is a very firearms-based society. Like firearms are massively accessible, not only to the population, but also to the militaries of the era. We have this kind of equalizing force that you're talking about here of peasants, even rebelling against the government because of this. But they still have an intensely honor-based society. I don't think that we can necessarily link the idea of the kind of weapons that are used in a society and the kind of social norms. I think that these are maybe convergent.
All right, guys, we're going to debate TikTok.
Okay, but let's look at that. Obviously, it takes time for things to decay. The original samurai didn't like guns. They hated it. They thought it would basically destroy their society and their profession. So
Guys,
they did not like the introduction of those weapons. They did not like that originally. They wanted to keep cold weapons. That was the case.
Sorry,
But
sorry.
the reason...
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say I'm going to leave in 5 minutes if anybody wants to kind of argue against my argument about humans are subjective entities. Subjective entities amoral, therefore humans are amoral forever without an objective entity guiding them. That's my introduction. My introduction to objective entity.
Do it later. We're having a different discussion
All
now.
right, go ahead. No worries. Thank you.
It's nothing to do with the introduction.
So they don't need me. Let's get out of there. Nobody wants to deal with us because we're geniuses. And Cartesian is a low slimy ball. Greg, if that's your friend, he's a low slimy ball. You and him can go and play with each other's nipples. Y'all are losers together. Pretty disgusting.